My name is Joe. And I know the screen says that I'm going to present a message to you or a testimonial, but we're going to go a lot further with that. And I'd like to start it off with a question. And this is a question that you don't need to answer right off. This is a question that I want you to think about, and I want you to kind of file it away to the end of what I have to say and then reassess. And it's really a question for you to answer yourself. The question is simple and oftentimes evokes that immediate response. The question is, do you want to be here or do you need to be here? Do you want to be here or do you need to be here? And that can be as ambiguous as you want it to be, or it can be as specific as you want it to be. It can be about this church, or it can just be existential and about life. Do you want to be here or do you need to be here? And neither answer is wrong. So we're not looking for a right or wrong when you're thinking about that for yourself. You see, wanting to be here confirms that you are making a choice, while needing to be here could also be perceived as a choice. It's not always your choice. So wanting to be here takes a different path. Perhaps it's an empowered path, or perhaps it's a reactionary path. But either way, you are taking responsibility for making the choice to be here. You are intrinsically motivated to be here, meaning that it's part of your soul, who you are. Needing to be here implies something else entirely. Needing to be here has some extrinsic value associated with it, meaning that there could be an outside force that's requiring you to be here. Whether it's familial obligation, the way we've always done things, the need to belong to something, looking for answers, it's less of a choice. For some of us, we are intentional about being here. For others, we are here because we need to be. When I was 15 years old and already in possession of so many inner demons, keeping inventory of such things was nearly impossible, my life was once again on the line. Once again on the line at 15. And looking back on it, was it luck? Was it luck that at age 15, I found myself randomly joining a non-denominational Bible church in a small little town in Washington called Olalla? I joined a youth group there and frequently attended church services. Was that luck that happened? Was it luck that Pastor John Ryder sat me down and asked me, what do you want? What do you want? You see, it would be easy to say that God turned his back on me. Up until that point, it would be easy to say that God turned his back on me. And I bet some of you have had that conversation. Maybe even asked that question through prayer, through reactions, or through the rough spots in your life. And like you, for those of you that have had that question, I had so many reasons to believe it. When I was 5 years old, a man named Willis and his brother Kerry stole me and my sister from my mother. Now, he was my sister's biological father and my stepfather, and the circumstances regarding the abduction have never been clear. Revenge for a relationship gone sour, maybe drug-related, and the list goes on. I mean, if you ask any of my relatives, some of them even take blame for the situation. I was the same age as my little Bentley. And on that October day in 1979, he asked me a question. He asked me if I've ever been hit by my mom. I was 5 years old. You know, I think about the way that my little Bentley would answer that question. And he would answer it honestly. He'd probably say, yeah, my dad hit me. I mean, I've never spanked Bentley. You know, maybe in horsing around or whatever. Well, Willis would use that as something to hold over my head for the next 7 years, 2 months, and 22 days. You see, we went from Bremerton, Washington to Garden City, Kansas. And during those 7 years, 2 months, and 22 days that we were abducted, I went through a world that felt absent of God. You know, when you're a kid, you don't realize that everybody else's life is different than what you're going through. I had no perception outside of the walls that I existed in that every kid wasn't abused the same way that I was. And we went to school. We actually existed publicly. without any knowledge that we were abducted or that what we were going through was abnormal. We were faces on milk cartons. So even without that level of consciousness, without understanding that things that we were going through were abnormal or anomalies, I did things that were very hard to explain. Other than maybe to cope with the trauma that we were going through. You see, I kept track of everything. I was struck with a belt 2,286 times. The most times in one session was 26 in a row. And it would continue to escalate the more indifferent I became to being struck by a belt. And each time I was told that it was going to hurt him more than it was going to hurt me. I was sent to bed without dinner 216 times. And each time I was told that it was because I was loved and needed to learn. I was locked in my closet 194 times, and each time I was told that it was for my own good and to use the time to think. And in that closet is where I kept track of everything. I used to put tick marks on the walls inside the closet to keep track of every one of these things that were not anomalies to me, but they stood out as being different in a certain way. So I kept track of every single time that I was abused. I was sexually abused 9 times, and each time I was told that it was my fault and not to tell anyone. And while all of this is tragic and was traumatic, it gave great cause to the demons that I've had to deal with over the course of my existence. It also produced gifts that I was blessed with. You see, it's a matter of perspective or recognition or what you want to see. I didn't realize it at the time, but I learned a lot of amazing skills. And when put to positive uses, allows me to stand here in front of you as a witness of God's plan and God's love for each of us. I have amazing emotional environment and environmental awareness. I can analyze anyone based on their body language and tell you immediately whether that person is trustworthy, angry, holding on to something, suffering, and many more reactions or emotions. I often disguise this ability through humor or quick wit. And here's the deal. Anyone that has suffered abuse in any way produces similar levels of awareness. You have to want to see it. I'm telling you that if you've been abused, I'm telling you that if you've been abused, you have this gift. And this can be a negative as much as a positive. But when harnessing that level of environmental awareness coupled with a desire to inspire and empower, it can be much like a superpower. I have amazing analytical skills. Being able to dissect problems and afford behavioral changing solutions that impact results has given me some amazing opportunities professionally and personally, but I have to want to see it. It's easy to say that God turned his back on me, but did he? Was he there as all this was happening? Understanding that while a monster exerted his free will to break me, God was giving me support along the way. I survived. With every beating, every abuse physically, emotionally, and mentally, he was there, and I survived. Every time I was thrown down a hall, held up against the wall by my neck, punched or kicked, he was there, and I survived. I'm sure that his heart was breaking as I was being broken, and yet he gave me these amazing gifts so that I would survive. And he wasn't done with me either. He hadn't turned his back on me. He was with me. He's been with me. God has been with me all along at age 26. When I was sitting all alone in my apartment, having just divorced, having torn my ACL, broken my ankle, and having just lost my position with the company I worked for, fighting off all kinds of demons again, ready to end it all with a gun in my hand. He was there with me, and I survived. And then he gave me a voice. He gave me this voice. The opportunity to inspire anyone through an empowered voice. Do you want to be here? Or do you need to be here? You see, I don't need to go to church to have a personal relationship with our Lord Jesus Christ. I don't need to be here to continue to cultivate relationships in an empowered church community such as Cressey Road United Methodist Church. I don't need to be here for any reason at all. I want to be here. I'm on a journey, and every step of that journey is empowered by the gifts that I've been given. I want to be here. Every step of that journey is designed to inspire others to overcome obstacles, look at things a little differently, forge lasting relationships, mentor, but above all, change people's mindsets. I want to be here. At 15 years old, the seed was planted in that church, and its youth group demonstrated for me that I haven't been alone on this journey ever. Even in my darkest moments, whether I wanted it or not, Jesus was always there. It was always up to me, though, whether I acknowledged it and then in turn wanted a relationship with him. While I might have needed to be here when I was 15 to ensure that I would continue to survive as an empowered person who has been given the gift of salvation and a voice to inspire and empower, when I walked through those doors this morning, it was because I wanted to be here. Many of us here are broken. Many of us have been through things that have destroyed us, made us question the existence of God. And with every traumatic event, with every moment of your brokenness, you are being given a gift, a God-given gift. You have to want to see it. When it is said that God will only give us what we can handle, I always look at it this way. God gives us what we can handle because no matter how tragic, how traumatic, or the overall impact of what we are going through, he is also giving us a gift. And we might not be able to see it in the moment. We might have to look at it in retrospect, and it might disguise itself as something different, like empathy, sympathy, awareness, support, positive attitude, perspective, and the list goes on. But there is a gift that God wants you to embrace and use that comes from whatever you've been through. My name is Joe Swenson. It is my daily purpose to inspire people to find the best version of themselves. And hopefully today, you will walk away wanting more in your relationship with Jesus, with this church, and with each other. If you feel inspired, mission accomplished. Thank you.